everyone, if you could take your seats, please. If everyone could find a seat, please. Those in the back, if you could please take a seat. Okay, everyone, let's take a seat. Okay. Okay, we're going to get started. If you can all take a seat, please. Yes. Okay, come on, everyone. Please sit down and let's get started. There's a lot of you here tonight, and we want to make sure everybody's heard. So let's everyone sit down. Okay, let's bring the meeting to order.
Statement of compliance. I'll read the statement of compliance. This meeting is being held in conformity of the Open Public Meeting Act. Proper public notice of this meeting has been published in local newspapers. If any board member or member of the public in attendance believes that this meeting is in violation of the Open Public Meeting Act, the Hoboken Board of Education requests that they make a statement at this time. The board wishes to make those in attendance aware this meeting is being recorded on video and will be broadcast by the board at a later date on cable television channel 77 and FiOS channel 46. The Hoboken Board of Education is committed to preserving the decorum of the public process and is mindful that we live in the electronic age of computers, cell phones, and other electronic communication devices. Nevertheless, we respectfully request that all meeting participants kindly silence their electronic devices during the course of the meeting, and if use of that device is necessary, we ask that you please leave the meeting room if you need to conduct personal business. If we could please rise for the salute to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Ms. Evans?
Here.
Mr. Cluffell?
Here.
Ms. McAllister?
Here.
Ms. Mitchell?
Here.
Mrs. Rhodes-Kearns?
Present.
Ms. Sobolev?
Here.
And Ms. Stromwell.
Here. We're going to start with the recognition portion of the meeting. Dr. Hernandez?
Good evening. This evening I have an opportunity to recognize the students of the month for the month of April. Starting with Calabro School, we have a second grader, Brianna Cummins. Brianna is such a deserving student to be selected as the April Student of the Month. She always strives to do her best in and out of the classroom. She is very personable and is well liked by everyone. Brianna's quiet confidence makes her a great role model for her peers. No matter what is placed in front of her, she's always ready to challenge it head on. Brianna demonstrates all the qualities of a successful student. She comes to class prepared and very organized. Brianna helps create positive energy that makes learning more fun. Overall, Brianna's good work ethic and compassion make her not only a great student, but a wonderful young lady. Please join me in congratulating Brianna Cummins. Our next student is from Connors Elementary School, third grader, Samara Lugo. I'm pleased to announce the selection of Samara Lugo as District Student of the Month. Samara consistently demonstrates the character traits emphasized at Connors. The caring nature and positive attitude Samara possesses provides a great example to her fellow students. She is a quiet leader in the classroom, leading through her outstanding work ethic and positive attitude. She also shows her leadership by helping keep her classmates on task and helping others in need. She always has a smile on her face that is filled with joy. Samara is a great example of a student that works hard to go above and beyond the everyday requirements of school. During class, she actively participates by having her work completed on time, clearly explaining her answers, and participating in group discussions. She is an outstanding asset to our school and community. Thank you for all your hard work and effort at T.G. Connors Elementary School. Please join me in congratulating Samara Lugo. Our next student is from the Wallace Elementary School, Diana Bellafani. Deanna is an outstanding student, complete with commitment and effort. She strives to always do her best and has been respectful the entire year. She is a fantastic role model for every student. Deanna has demonstrated leadership qualities throughout the year. She assists her classmates with classwork when they are struggling. Deanna is a compassionate, sweet, loving girl who will without a doubt achieve greatness in her future. Please join me in congratulating Deanna. Oh, Samara's here. Come on up, Samara. Our next student is from the Hoboken Junior High School, seventh grader, Annie Fedanova. Annie Fedanova. Annie, is she here? No. Annie is a thoughtful, compassionate, polite young lady. She is extremely inquisitive. She is knowledgeable about a wide range of topics and is always willing to share information with her peers and her teachers. She is a well-rounded individual with a strong academic drive. She is a pleasure to have as a student. Please join me in congratulating Annie. Our senior high school student of the month, Caitlin Send. Caitlin is a leader and a model student. Caitlin wants to be a pre-med student in college. She was recently invited to attend the National Youth Leadership Forum on Medicine. She was invited to the conference based on her demonstrated leadership ability. She will be given the opportunity to receive college credits for the work that she completes. She will meet with medical students to gain perspective on what it is like to be a first-year medical student. Only 4 students in the history of Hoboken High School have ever been given the honor to attend this forum. Caitlin has the drive and the motivation to succeed in college and medical school. We wish her luck in all of her future endeavors. Please join me in congratulating Caitlin. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Before Dr. Toback gives his report. I just wanted to remind everyone that over on the table by Mr. Gagliardi are the sign-up sheets to speak. There's one on agenda items, and the other is for the public portion, which you can speak on open topics. So if you haven't signed in, if you want to quietly make your way over if you want to speak, so we have you on the list. Again, one list for agenda items and the other for open topics. Thank you. So now we have a few reports. Dr. Tobeck?
Normally, I enjoy this part of the meeting where I report on many positive things that we can celebrate as a school district. However, this evening, I feel that such a report would be inappropriate given the circumstances of our meeting and the fact that we are conducting a significant reduction in force. However, it would be wrong for me not to do at least two things. The first thing, I would like to thank the Stevens Institute of Technology for creating a wonderful experience for 85 of our junior high school students. Yesterday, in addition to learning about Stevens and the educational programs they offer, our students enjoyed some time doing experiments with college students and in their experience with ice cream. I'd also like to thank or congratulate our valedictorian. So our valedictorian, Leslie Markevich, and our salutatorian, Alex Yoon Hendricks, both exceptional students graduating this year from Hoboken High School. Both students will be recognized tomorrow night at the Academic Achievement Awards, which will be sponsored by the Hudson County Superintendent's Roundtable. So congratulations once again to both students for amazing four-year careers at Hoboken High School. This evening, I'm sorry to say that our proposed staffing plan involves a significant reduction in force as a result of budgetary issues that we are facing. There are a total of 63 staff members who are included as part of the reduction in force. The staffing reductions are drawn from all areas, including administration, transportation, instructional support, maintenance, and from among our district clerks, as well as instructional staff. As with any organization, during tough financial times, there is a need to maintain our core function. If there is anything positive to report about the staffing plan, it is that the plan protects the teaching and learning process and maintains good class sizes. Only 3 teaching positions have been reduced, keeping in mind that we also need to hire at least 3 elementary school teachers for next year to provide good class sizes for our students at the lowest grade levels. We have some large classes moving ahead. We need 3 additional teachers. That being the case, the net effect as of right now is that there will be a 0 increase or decrease in the teaching staff as far as a total number. There is also a reduction in force necessary due to a reorganization of the early childhood program to allow 6 of our district classrooms to be returned to our 2 providers. As a result, the teachers may look to the providers for work, and 1 teacher has already been transferred to teach in the ABA program we have here at Wallace School. We understand the difficulty this reduction in force creates for many of our dedicated employees, and any reduction in force or other job loss is nothing that we take lightly. We appreciate the contributions of all of our employees. I wish at this point things could be different. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Tobeck. Now, if we could have the committee reports, we'll start with Mr. Klupp. Oh, I'm sorry. First time. BA, the Business Administrator's report, please.
Yeah, I too have a very brief update. There will be a delivery due to the approval of the lease for copiers. Just so no one's surprised, we will be taking delivery of various equipment over the next day or so, which will be set up and made available for use by the end of the week. So I just wanted to let you know that if you see some vehicles in front of our buildings delivering, that's what they're delivering.
Okay.
But that concludes my report.
Ms. McAllister,
Thank you.
there's also one thing that I need to add. Okay, just recently we received a resignation, so we do have a live item. Live item is a resignation, is just to accept the resignation of Heather Bazarnicki, a Wallace School K-2 ABA teacher, effective June 30th, 2014. So she resigned today. And the other thing, there's a correction to Resolution 9.11. So it's this very simple thing. It's a typographical error. It should read the sidebar between the HEA and the athletic trainer, not the athletic director. So that is an error, small mistake. And
Thank you.
That's it.
Okay. So committee reports, Mr. Klupfeld, Finance.
Thank you. The Finance Committee met last Wednesday morning from 9:30 till 10:30. In attendance was myself, Dr. Gold, Monica, and Irene, and Dr. Toback, and Mr. Moffett. Most of these, we have a short finance agenda this month. Most items are routine, and the committee reviewed everything and recommends all for approval tonight. 1006 is, I've gotten a couple of questions on it, and I'm reluctant to kind of try to explain it myself. I think I can, but I prefer, Mr. Moffett, if you would. It is for the an extension in addition to a contract with our auditor. And as I can try to explain it, I think it's for services that used to be done by somebody else in the district, a consultant, but that person is no longer with the district. So that job is being pushed over to our auditing firm, who has been our auditing firm for a number of years now. Anything else I need to put on?
Right, yeah, that's developed into a project that not only will have provided information as related to our projected surplus for this year, which became very important through the budget process,
Right.
but it'll also move into final auditing of our budget support documentation and ultimate audit of like a book, which is an adopted budget book that will be providing the general public as well. On top of that service, there was a desire by the board to have our school lunch application process reviewed to
Right.
make sure that we were in compliance with all the regulations that apply to that. So that would be with our external auditor. The other contract that's listed as well is for an individual in the business office that's been there a number of years. She's been dedicating a lot of extra time to some reimbursements as it relates to FEMA, so we wanted to make sure that we were going to get back everything that we expended and everything was dotted and crossed so that we would maximize that. So that those are two of the increases that are shown in Action 10.06.
Thank you, Mr. Moffett. The other item on the agenda is 10.07, which is the renewal of the Elysian lease. That is an existing lease. Elysian's been renting from the district for a number of years. For the record, I will be abstaining on that vote, given my history with Elysian Charter School. I just want to be cleaner than clean on that one. I'm not involved with the school at all, but because of past relationships. And finally, 10.14 is a sort of for people skimming, might look like the Hoboken district is asking for additional state funding to the tune of $360 million. We're not. We are joining with other districts around the state, passing a resolution asking the state legislature to increase state aid to make up for some lack of funding. So it's not a district-oriented thing. We're joining with the other school districts in that. That's the conclusion of my report. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair?
Yes?
Can we ask any questions now of the finance, or are you going to wait till after everybody's report is in?
How do we usually do that, at the end?
Do your report now.
Should we wait until the end? We'll do it
Do
the
you want
same
to
way
wait till the end, or do it?
I think we normally
We can
wait to
clean
the
up.
end, so we'll
Okay.
stick to form, but don't worry, we'll have a...
Okay.
Ms. Evans, governance?
Okay. The Governance and Personnel Committee met Wednesday, May 7th from 10:30 to 1:30. In attendance were myself, Vito Gagliardi, Dr. Leon Gold, Dr. Hernandez, Ruth McAllister, Irene Sobolov, and Dr. Toback. The committee discussed at length next year's staffing, as well as all the agenda items that are on tonight's agenda.
Thank you. Curriculum and programs, we met on May 7th from 2 to 3:30. In attendance was myself, Leon Gold, and Tamika Balknight. Basically, we reviewed a new social studies series that we are purchasing on a lease called Time Links. It's the same company as Reading Wonders, so it should be an easy transition for our teachers. We talked about the new textbooks for the 11th and 12th grade in the high school. All will complete our necessary purchases for the core. We discussed teacher evaluations and
how we were going to manage professional development that's required considering our lack of funds. Fortunately, we have many teachers that have been very dedicated to this professional development process, and we're going to be able to utilize them rather than bring in outside in order to train teachers during these sessions. And we also, we're adding an additional AP course, environmental science, that we have the enrollment for, and an additional humanities and art elective. Ms. Sobolov?
The Athletics and Performing Arts Committee met on May 7th. In attendance was myself, Dr. Hernandez, Jennifer Evans, and Dr. Gold. Student participation in the athletics department was discussed, and the senior awards dinner will be held on May 29th in Wallace to honor the graduating senior athletes. Under Performing Arts, the all-district production of The Little Mermaid, which includes children from K-12 from Brant, Calabro, Connors, Wallace, and the junior senior high school, will be on May 16th, 17th, and 18th. The AP art exhibition will be at the Monroe Center on May 22nd from 7 to 9. And district students will participate in the Hudson County Teen Art Show at NJCU on May 28th and 29th.
Thank you. Ms. Mitchell, facilities?
The Facilities and Wellness Committee was originally scheduled last week, but we had to cancel due to the budget meeting. So it was held this evening at 6 p.m. Monica Stromwell was in attendance, along with myself as board members, Tim Callaghy, John Paprota from Sodexo, and Brian Beanie, also from Sodexo. And Sodexo held a health fair last week on May 2nd. That was on a Friday. It was rather lightly attended. It was advertised and on Patch and the Reporter and our website. Some good news is Selena Chinchilla won the raffle for the bicycle, so she walked away quite happy. The facilities, working with the Sodexo, this evening we explored expanding offerings to offer to after-school programs, also trying to economize. We've also discussed the new and stricter government regulations that will be coming upon us next year. Regarding facilities, as the Connors School, the wireless systems were upgraded. They now have 10 times more bandwidth than the rest of the district, so they've been upgraded and they're running very well. The intercom system at Wallace School is still down. They'll be bringing in a vendor this week. However, the phone systems are completely working, so there's still adequate communication within the school. At the high school, the fire alarm panel was replaced, so there's a new system, and there will be another panel put in toward the front door to notify where, say, problems will be. The Brant facade update, that is still progressing. They're working with the state. They sent another report to the state, and we're waiting for, for a response to be reimbursed for all the costs for the scaffolding. At Connors, the pre-K room preparations are ongoing. There are 3 classrooms. There's 1 classroom that's finished, but that work is ongoing. Some of the work they can do during the day. Other times they cannot work with the children in the building, but they will be ready for September. Okay, that concludes my report. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I do have a report about the Hudson County School Boards Association that I attended last month. It's very brief.
That's fine. That's the right time. Thank you.
Last month, as I I was late for the meeting. I was attending a Hudson County School Boards Association meeting as the legislative delegate for the New Jersey School Boards Association. And basically, it was about reaching out to your legislators as board members and as members of the public. And the keynote speaker was the Speaker of the House, Vinnie Prieto. And he said it's so true that people assume the legislators know the issues that are concerning their constituents, and many times they don't. So it's so important to please reach out to them by email, call them. You could find it on the state website. So after he said that, I did reach out to our Assemblyman, Carmelo Garcia, and was informed that he is working on a piece of legislation, which is in the draft stages right now, for set-aside resources, for funding for schools, for particularly charter schools, so that the funding doesn't come out of our budget any longer. Hopefully, this is the hopes of it. So I'll follow up with that as that moves along. Thank you.
Thank you. Just the President's report, which I'm running the meeting tonight because, as you can see, Mr. Gold is absent. As mentioned by Dr. Tobeck, this is it's been an extremely tough week for our administration, and especially for those dedicated employees that found out they would no longer be with us next year. If you are here to speak on behalf of these employees, that is an agenda item. It would be 9.15, approval of the appointment of Hoboken school employees for the 14-15 school year. So, but first, before I have a housekeeping about how we're going to do at the meetings, but right now let's have questions from the board about the committee reports. So, Fran, would you like to start?
Sure. I have a Finance Committee. You touched on it somewhat, 10.06, the contract for Lurch, the extra $36,000. My question is, when we hired them for the accountant, correct? Auditing. Did that go out to bid? Did they have to bid for that, the auditing contract?
You appointed them as a professional service contract?
Right, and how do we do that? Do they put in a request, RFP is it, or RF?
It's my understanding it would be a request for qualification, and it was
Correct.
probably done this time last year.
Right, so that's my question about them taking on another without that process being done.
Right. This is
Would that need to be done? Because
No,
we moved more work over to them that they never did before, correct? Somebody else was doing it?
That is correct.
So would that need to go out to RFP or RFQ?
No, since you awarded the contract with them, these are the same terms of that relationship, so the underpinning document is the same, the hourly rates and those things are similar and the same from that document. This is just an extension on a project basis that we went forward with their services. So
Right, that's where my confusion is, because they came in at a certain price, it was low price, I believe, and now it's $36,000 more.
Well, there's a couple things going on. You appointed the auditor, you pay them for the annual audit, so that's a separate dollar amount on a separate purchase order. You then are allowed to, we basically pursued projects, so they gave us estimates, and they continue to give us additional estimates for work that we've requested from them. So, for example, tonight you see one proposal for the school lunch verification process, which we asked them to do. So they gave another price for that. So that was something that is memorialized tonight.
Okay, and that's how their contract works? We can just add on more work for them that they
Based on-
normally didn't do, that wasn't in the RFQ or RFP that they originally submitted?
Yes, that's my understanding, yes.
Okay.
Any other questions, Mrs. Kearns?
No, that was it.
Okay.
That was my own.
Anyone else have any questions about the committee reports? Okay, so just a little housekeeping. It is necessary tonight for the board to go into closed executive session to discuss personnel items that are on the agenda that we do need to take action on, but they are items that are personnel issues, so we would not discuss those in public. So in order to accommodate the closed session and also the members of the public who would like to comment on the agenda, we will first take the comments on the agenda items only so that you all can have your opportunity. And then we're going to poll the items that are for closed session. We'll vote on the rest of the agenda, which includes your items that most likely we believe you'll be speaking on. And then we're going to go into closed session so we can return and take action on the few items that we need to poll. And then after that, we'll hold the public comment, which is for any items that you want to talk about. And we apologize that we're not doing the closed, sometimes we do the closed session at the very end of the meeting, but we do that when it's maybe a legal update or something that isn't actionable, but it's better in this order since it's an actionable item. So I just want to remind everybody, because some people have come in again, there's 2 lists for agenda items and also for the open session after. If anybody still needs to sign up, looks like everybody's good. How many people are signed up for agenda items?
We have 12 listed.
12 listed. So, should we do it 5 minutes? So since it's 12, which is certainly a manageable number, we'll be doing the full 5 minutes for comment. Tonight, I'm not the timekeeper because I'm the gavel person, so Tom will be sitting next to me to do the timing. He'll give you a signal when you're at a minute, okay, if that's fine with everybody. First speaker, please.
Teresa Howard.
And when you come to the podium, your name and address would be appreciated. Thank you.
Hi, Teresa Howard, 1120 Garden Street. I'm the Director of Children with Special Needs for the Hoboken Family Alliance, and sort of loath that I'm the first one because I didn't gather enough information to get up here and speak eloquently. So I did want to just address, though, I couldn't make the budget meeting last week. I've looked at the budget in the Hoboken Reporter, and the only thing I can address and speak a little bit blindly about is just everything I've heard on the street from a lot of families I know in the special education community about the bus cuts and the transportation service cuts. And my daughter, who goes to school in Union City, had been in the public school system, had the opportunity to be bused. She was 2 blocks away. We didn't do that, obviously. There are a number of families who live in town who have disabled children who need busing. And if the plan is to outsource to a third vendor party to save money, I can understand that. I know budgets are very difficult, and I know there's a lot of different issues that you have to take into account. But the one thing I could say that's true in Hoboken is a sense of community in terms of what those bus drivers can do for the families and for the children that ride those buses. And if they live in town and they know the kids, that it's more than just a bus ride for these children. And what on paper is a monetary decision has greater impact and longer lasting impact than just the immediate budget cuts that you're going to see. I know firsthand from a lot of families. I have a note here from Dina Russell, whose 2 sons are on the autistic spectrum. She's the Special Needs Parent Group forum leader, and we work really closely together on a number of programs, getting them up and running in town to create more opportunities for our kids. And the more that we do in town fosters a greater sense of community, not just for our children, but for the community at large. And I've seen it firsthand. We've worked with a number of kids from the high school. Robin, we just did a great swimming program over at the high school. We had a number of kids from the swim team volunteering. We had kids from Stevens volunteering. It was a great opportunity to bring both kids from Stevens College and the high school together so that they're walking down the street, they'll know each other, they're meeting each other, they're friendly to each other, they have a better understanding of each other, and it just closes the gap in this community. And I think cutting and handing off the transportation, if that's what exactly is planned, again, I don't have the clarity from what I've seen in the documents, if we could keep it within Hoboken and provide the drivers and the workers and the aides within district and as part of the school system, I think it would behoove everybody in the community, and maybe there's another way to find other cuts elsewhere.
Thank you.
Franco.
Next speaker.
Stojkovic. Franco Stojkovic.
Yeah, can you say the, I'm sorry, sir.
Gary
Could you say
Ringo
the
is
next
following.
name? Thank you, thank you.
Branko Stojkovic, 1425 Garden. I'm just going to continue to what Teresa already started. Our son is autistic. He attends the Forum School in Waldwick, New Jersey, which is a highly specialized program for kids with disabilities. Such program does not exist anywhere here in Hoboken. Let's face it. Our son is thriving there, but the downside is, of course, that he spends long hours on the bus, going all the way up there. And this can sometimes take as long as 2 hours each way. What gives us, and other parents, of course, a peace of mind is that Foreman over there has been their driver of this group of kids for the past 3 years. We can thoroughly rely on him, both to get our kids there and back safely, but also let us know if there's ever any issue. The aides, Gladys, Anna, Rose, and many others have always put our kids first. And they're not the only ones. I mean, you can imagine what it's like to have an autistic kid, a kid who cannot convey his anxieties, a lot of OCD behavior, a lot of special behavior. You know, you have to put a 6-year-old on a bus, which we did way back when. The only thing that gave us comfort was that Robert Rodriguez, he's over there here. He actually personally learned each and one of the kids and gave them personal attention. With these kids, there is no choice. They need personal attention. Now, last September, the Board of Education tried to outsource the transportation to an out-of-town company. Now, I don't know if you know how that went, but I will remind you, in case you don't. First of all, the bus was late, 45 minutes. It had many more kids. In essence, the only way these people save you money is by putting more kids onto the same bus. The aides did not speak English. Only the driver spoke English, so the bus had to pull over so they could talk to us. And, I mean, it was a complete and utter disaster. I am glad it did not happen. Now, this year, you want to do it again. Well, the BOE has consistently raised taxes in our town. I mean, let's face it. And you're cutting critical programs when funneling money into new administrative positions and non-academic services and programs. This new transit plan sounds like just another very bad policy. As board members, you were elected to serve our children and put their needs before the numbers. If the board is financially strapped, then let's cut funding to athletic programs, not academic programs. Many towns have done this successfully. I'm disappointed and even angry that the majority members of the Hoboken Board of Education would rather preserve athletic programs that serve very few kids while cutting services to those that are most needy. Now, of course, I know it is not popular to cut funding to football and sports, but let's be honest, football is expensive, serves very few, and it does not improve academics. In addition, I imagine the district has to carry some type of special liability for football. That can be cheap. Some argue on an anecdotal level that football can provide scholarships. Well, if this board produced a great educational system in Hoboken to give all students the premier education they deserve, the athletic programs could be managed with a combination of less funding and more volunteering. This very same board majority has had more than 5 years to do this, and since it hasn't happened, the blame lies squarely on the board's shoulders. Now, you're trying to make up the difference by penalizing special needs kids for your financial mismanagement. The special needs students have already been disadvantaged by their disability. They at least deserve a fair treatment. Their transportation is a critical part of their day. I mean, that is crucial for the school to be successful in teaching them. If they come in anxious, angry because of trouble in transportation, it's not going to work. So not only are we losing on the transportation, we're losing at school as well. I will go as far to say that by outsourcing the transit service, you're putting our children in serious jeopardy. Every day that they get on a crowded bus with strangers at the helm. These kids should not be with strangers. We need to support our current bus drivers and aides and keep them on the job, because removing them from the special needs equation is the same as not supporting special needs students, and we don't need any more leaders turning their back on our disadvantaged kids. All of you need to oppose this plan that would replace our local, hardworking, caring transportation staff that applies individual attention to our kids. You should never let them be replaced by an out-of-town company.
Thank you. I'm sorry, your time's up. Thank you, Mr.
One sentence.
Stokovich. We have It's 5 minutes apiece. Thank you very much. Okay, if I could...
Gary Enrico, followed by Roseanne Versace.
Okay. One second. Okay, it's hard to hear the speakers, so I don't want to gavel you about cheering, because I understand that, but if you could wait until the end, that way we can really hear everyone speak and everyone who's listening here and also who watches later. So, thank you.
Right. My name is Gary Enrico, President of the Hoboken Education Association. That gentleman is a tough act to follow, all right, because I think that's basically the dilemma that the board has and we have. But one thing that I always say to our members is we're a family here. We are a family. Not the Hoboken Education Association, the community of Hoboken, all right? And that's why I asked some of our members to turn out tonight in support of those who will be losing their job. But, you know, one thing that I have to comment on, and I find a little bit funny, actually sad in a way, is you always know when it's a big meeting in Hoboken. You know how you know it? By who shows up, all right? And we have some people here we haven't seen in a long, long time. All right? But they're here tonight, and they're probably going to get up and say something. I don't know how they're going to do it, because a lot of these people supported and wrote letters to the commissioner supporting the charter school. So I want my members to know, and I want the Board of Ed to know, that I wish those politicians were here tonight. Because as people lose their job, and I'm going to tell them, I'm going to tell our members to make sure when they see a politician to thank them. Thank them for their support or non-support of the Hoboken Education Association, the bus drivers and the aides. So I just want to get that out there, and I'm sure they'll have an excuse, because I got many phone calls over the weekend telling me, and I want the members to know this, that they're against layoffs. The politicians are against layoffs. All right? So just remember, when you're on unemployment, and make sure when you see them, that you let them know. They let down the children, the public school children of Hoboken. All right? The public school children of Hoboken. They had a decision to make, and they made it. All right? And we're not going to forget it. All right? We're not going to forget it. I know this is a tough decision for the Board of Education. All right? But I'm asking you, again, to reconsider what you're doing here tonight. Let's take a break. Let everyone calm down. And I would love to get in a meeting with Mr. Moffett, Dr. Toback, and let's try to see if there's another solution to this. There has to be another solution. And I would like that opportunity with Ed Stevens from NJA to see if there's something we can do. All right, we're doing a lot of talking, but who's going to solve the problem? All right? So, in closing, I am begging the Board of Education to reconsider what you're going to do here tonight, because a lot of people are going to get hurt. Remember, they lose their benefits. They lose their pension. They'll get hired. They'll get hired by another bus company, right? Maybe they'll make more an hour, but they're not going to have their pension. They're not going to have their life insurance. They're not going to have their benefits. And I know it's a tough job when you're on the Board of Education. I sat there, all right, and I know it's tough. People still don't talk to me when I walk around parameters of things I voted on, all right? So it doesn't die down. But you're elected for the, and I say this again, you're elected for the public school children of Hoboken, all right? And you have to do, I don't care who comes up. People are going to come up after me. They're going to come up after me like they do online, and they cut our teachers apart. They cut me apart. That's fine, all right? I'm a 39-year teacher. I am asking for you to reconsider. I'm not looking at these two guys. I'm looking at you in the face, and I'm asking you to reconsider. Let's hold off on this. Let's everybody calm down. Let's get to a meeting, and let's try to see if we can work it out. All right? But remember, members, in closing, and what did I say opening day? Opening day, I said to you, the charter schools are going to kill this system, hurt this system, and we have no friends in politics. All right? And I'm sticking by that, and I'm going to stick by you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Enrico.
Roseanne
Next.
Versace.
Rosanna
Versace. Followed by Robert Rodriguez.
Roseanne Versace, fourth grade teacher, Wallace School. I think everybody took my talking points, but I feel compelled to speak just to show my support for my fellow colleagues and what is happening in the district and what is going to be voted on tonight. In speaking with some of the bus drivers last week after the meeting, they conveyed what they do. I mean, we see them as they transport the kids, but it's so much more than that. And I think hopefully some of them will get up and speak and really tell you what the life of a bus driver is like. It's not just about get on the bus, give a wave, put them in their seats, transport them, get them off the bus, and carry on. It's so much more. There's so much more caring and nurturing involved in what they do. And it would really be a shame for an outside company to come in and expect that they would give the same kind of care to the kids that they know and really love, who have been part of their lives, and they've been part of their lives since they've started school. And when I stood here last week, I got kind of, passionate about it, and I was banging the thing, and I was, in retrospect, I was a little appalled at that. But my point is that we really, as Gary said, we really are a family. It affects us when someone else loses a job. You're happy that you're working, but you feel like, why someone else and why not me? And what are they going to do? I mean, it's true, benefits, everything else that goes along with being employed, and just your sense of worth and value. I've been in that position. I know what it's like, and I can anticipate what the anxiety that they'll go through. And we don't want that to happen, and we want to do whatever we can to stop that from happening. So again, I asked you last week, I implored you last week, and I'm imploring you again. Please reconsider the cuts. Please reconsider the outsourcing of the bus drivers. Think of other ways that we can possibly rectify this budget issue. The charter school is there. I mean, there's nothing we could do about it, and it's always going to be an issue, and it's unfortunate that there are people in this town that don't see it for what it is, and don't see it for the detriment that it is to our public schools. But I don't know that that's going to change. I don't know that calling people out at a meeting is going to change that. But I'm asking you again, please reconsider. Save these people's jobs and think about what they're losing their jobs will do. It's not about us. It's not about a job. It's not about a career. At the end of the day, it always is about the kids, and that's what you have to think about. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Versace.
Robert Rodriguez, followed by Beth Mason.
Good evening. My name is Robert Rodriguez. I'm a driver here for Hoboken Board of Education for 20 years. I'm also a parent of the Hoboken Public School student. I stand before you worried and heartbroken about what the future holds for me and my family. When I say family, I include the students of the public schools of the Hoboken and the bus drivers. I have heartless countless times how we are taking away from the charter school students. How can we be taken away from something that they never had, something that they never had. Okay. We provide 7th and 8th grade for the entire district. It is their choice to attend or not to. Charter school parents are asking us to always take away from Hoboken Public School students because of this segregation that they had created. Let me tell you some of the ways they are taking away from our public school students. Many of us are going to be losing our jobs and our livelihoods. Teachers, custodians, security guards, clericals, and entire transportation department. We will be closed so the charter school can have what we already provide, I'm sorry. Board members, to you I say, Closing the transportation department is a disservice to the students and the parents of Hoboken. Hoboken parents do not just hand over their children to any stranger with a license. We have worked hard for many years to gain their trust and respect with their most valuable treasures. We act as parents, coaches, bodyguards, and cheerleaders to our students. The staff of this department consists of 100% Hobokeners. Most of us attended the public schools here, and we will always take care of our own. We love our job, we love our students. You will never be able to pay a private company to take care and love the students the way that we do. Every time we have been called to go beyond our job, we have been present. We ask today the same from you. Be there for the drivers, students. Please do not close the transportation department. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Mr. Rodriguez.
Beth Mason,
Ms. Mason?
followed by Scott Atkins.
Good evening. Beth Mason, 921 Hudson Street. I'm here both as a parent and as a member of the City Council. I'm here because many parents have asked me to be here, and I'm also here because, as an elected official, I ask you to reconsider the driving situation because of two reasons. One is, as electeds, we're supposed to represent those that are least fortunate. And this is a perfect example of where the attempt to pit our city, one group against another, is being used by going after those that are less fortunate. On the other side, it's not just about the students, as the gentleman before me spoke. It is about going after those that are lowest on our payroll, in addition, without necessarily addressing the top administrative challenges that we have in the town. So, first and foremost, I'd like you to reconsider this, and I hope you will, and reconsider the layoffs. Thank you.
Scott Atkins, followed by Judith Diamond.
How you doing? Scott Atkins, 420 Jefferson Street. I speak in opposition to the plan to outsource the transportation department. My daughter is 9 years old. She's autistic. She has physical and intellectual disabilities. She spends an hour to an hour and a half on the bus every day. She goes to the Forum School. You know, my daughter is well behaved, as are most of the kids on the bus, but there are those days, right? And I can't say enough good things about, you know, Hovey and Anna and you know, Glenda, Orlando, and all of the people that have dealt with my daughter over these last 3 years. And, you know, my daughter, you know, when you go on a bus for an hour and a half, you know, sometimes Hovey is literally dragging her off the floor, or you know, Anna or Glenda are trying to strap her into the seat because, you know, she's rolling around. It's a very, very difficult situation. They do a fantastic job day in and day out. And this plan to outsource the bus, you know, I know what this is about. I had the same experience as Mr. Stojkovic had, where, you know, the bus driver came to our door last year or in September and essentially, you know, said, you know, I'm going to show up at 8:15. My kid needs to be at school at 9. There's no training. There's one bus driver. The aides are, you know, they're not trained at all. They're not part of the community. I can't put my kid on that bus. I just can't. And I'm not going to. And, you know, so that leaves me with, and the other parents of the children on that bus and on all the other buses in town with a problem. What do we do, you know? For parents of special needs students, you know, this is much more than than just a taxi service to the school. This is their education. This is their educational program. You spoke about not cutting educational programs, but this is where they learn how to share. This is where they learn how to deal with real-life situations. This is 30% of their day. And, in short, I really urge you to reconsider, and I really urge you to reconsider the priorities and not pick on the most vulnerable population in our population, which are the special needs students, and to keep the Hoboken bus drivers and transportation system as it is. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Askins.
Judith Diamond, followed by Brian Murray.
Hello, my name is Judith Diamond. I live at 1122 Grand Street. And I'm here to talk to you about the teachers in the pre-K program here at Wallace. I have two children who are in this school district. My second grader is here in Wallace, and she's come up all the way through the pre-K program. And my little one, Ben, is in Kim Mara's class here, and he's been in both years of the pre-K program. And I want to thank you. My children have really thrived here in Hoboken, and it's been a really pleasant surprise to us. And we see that you have put in a lot of changes that have made a big difference in to our children and to their perception of school, and that I know will lay a foundation for their education in the future. My daughter tells me that she wants to be a librarian because she loves books, and she knows where she's going to work. It's at the Hoboken Public Library. She's 8, and she's got her whole life planned out ahead of her, probably because of those play plans you do here. My son is very shy, and he has just thrived in the pre-K program here. The teachers are incredible, and it's the reason that we've stayed here in Hoboken. We had originally planned on moving away, but we couldn't because our kids are so happy here in this program. I wanted to tell you what my son says about Miss Mara. This weekend, he said several things. He speaks about her constantly. He says, "Mommy, I hug my teacher all the time." He loves to go to school. I asked him, "What's your favorite thing about Miss Mara?" And he said, "I get to go to school." And on Sunday, he can read now, which is incredible to me. I read to him, but I don't teach him how to read. But he's been picking up these skills in school, and he always follows the patterns. You can see he's following the patterns that he's been taught. He takes so much pride. Every night at dinner, he talks about what he's been learning about in school. For 3 weeks straight, we've had the same conversation. Is this food healthy? Is this food healthy? Which food is healthier, Mommy? I only want to eat healthy foods, he tells me. Or whatever the topic is, he just loves to talk about what he's learned in school. But the most impressive thing to me that happened on Sunday, on Mother's Day, was we were in the car, and I hear he often just talks out loud about the things he's learning in school. And he says, 3 + 5 is 8. And he's the second child, so I said, "That's right, honey." I went back to what I was doing. And then I thought about it, and I turned and I said, "How do you know that? You're not memorizing numbers." That's my second grader who's doing that. And I didn't expect an articulate answer because he's in pre-K. But what he said was, "Well, I'm 5, and Sarah's 3 years older than me, and she's 8. So therefore, 5 + 3 is 8. And I just about fell out of my seat, because if he can articulate that before he even gets into kindergarten, even if he came up with the wrong answer, then he's set. And I thank Ms. Mara for that. I understand that you have to make cuts, and I understand that it appears that it's a luxury to have the pre-K program, but that's the reason why we stayed here. We couldn't bear the thought of taking the children out of an environment where they were doing so well. So I ask you to please consider whether you want to make a decision that is penny wise but pound foolish. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lyman. Okay, we're ready. Mr. Murray?
Thank you. Brian Murray, 701 Monroe Street. Last week, we were here for a budget meeting, and the question I asked was, When did you know? When did you know that you were going to have a budget shortfall that was going to cost people their jobs? Last year. A year ago, you knew. A year ago, you knew. During that same period within the last year, this board asked the state to raise Dr. Toback's salary. You had the gall to know that you had a budget shortfall, but let's give the top of the pyramid a raise. A raise above the state level, the state max. A year ago, I bet the head of the union knew that there was going to be a budget shortfall too. Were there any answers? Were there any answers? He got up here and stood and banged his fist and said, you know, we need to save these jobs and let's blame the charter schools for it. A year ago, he knew there was going to be a budget shortfall. Where was the plan then to save their jobs? You know, today I went over to the superintendent's office and looked at the list of all of the people who actually get to keep their jobs and what they make. What I saw in that list was kind of surprising to me that, you know, there were a lot of people making over $100,000. There were social workers on there that made over $100,000. There were nurses. There's a band director that makes over $100,000. You know, a lot of people that are making a lot of money, and we're cutting the people who aren't making a lot of money, but who help our kids. You know, the director of facilities is the third most highest paid person in the school system. Is something broken here when, you know, that we're cutting jobs and we're paying for things like, you know, max pay for facilities? That doesn't sound like kids coming first. You know, I'm all in favor of our state championship football team, and I don't advocate cutting sports in any way, shape, or form. But I think that, you know, I come to meeting after meeting where we hire trainers in the summertime, you know, to work out different athletes, and we spend all of this money on ancillary types of items. And, you know, these people here, they're where the rubber meets the road, literally, you know, where, you know, you have kids that they're helping, and you're cutting them. And what's next? I mean, Dr. Toback in his report kind of glossed over it, but hey, you know, well, we're cutting 3 teachers, but we're adding 3 teachers, so the number of teachers is the same. Well, guess what? I saw the projections on how many more kids there were going to be, so that means a higher student-to-teacher ratio this year. And now next year, what's going to happen next year? Because guess what, guys? You have the same problem coming next year. This 4% cap that you keep playing with, next year you have a budget problem again. I'm going to let you know now, in case you missed it last year, but y'all didn't, I'm going to let you know again, Mr. Enrico, you too. You're going to have a budget problem again next year, and that means more people are going to lose their jobs unless we figure this out right now. And unfortunately, these 63 families are paying the price today because you didn't figure it out this year, because you guys didn't work together this year. Instead, you said, hey, we're going to keep all the high-paying salary people, and we're going to let the people go that don't have a real voice for themselves. And then we're going to go over there and point to the charter schools and say it's their fault. Well, the charter school that you're talking about, and the additional cost to the charter school was $500,000. To me, that's, you know, 2 social workers, a band director, and a facilities manager. And that's what we're talking about with the charter school. So I'm not really sure if we're really talking about those dollars, because that's the problem we have here, or is the problem that you guys can't figure out how to spend, you know, $22,000 per child and still be able to get them on a bus somewhere. You know, actually, this is for you guys. I'm going to leave it for you. This is Weehawken, which I mentioned last week. They spend $13,000 a child, and, you know, they have a top 10% high school. So maybe you guys want to, again, try to figure out what they're doing right and how come, you know, they're not cutting a bunch of jobs and we have to here. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Murray. Ms. Smith?
And Teresa Castillion, I think.
Ms. Smith? Was it Lisa Smith?
Yes. Followed by Teresa Castillion,
Okay,
I think.
here she comes. Is it Lisa Smith?
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am, that's correct.
Thank you.
Good evening to everybody, the Board of Education, to all the staff, teachers, to police. I'm here as a parent. I'm a single mother in Hoboken projects. There's no activities going on for our children down here. But when my son come to Wallace, to the bus aid, the teachers, Ms. Johnson, Ms. Gail Johnson, and the police, my son is safe and more happier here. In the projects, there's nothing going on. But I'm asking y'all reconsidering that you taking these kids away. It's like taking a newborn baby from a parent and giving it to a stranger. So I'm asking y'all in consideration for my son. He loves everybody. I don't trust my son with too many strangers. But when he come here, everybody in here, I feel happy. I don't have no worries. I could go to sleep at night knowing he's safe. But where I live at, I have problems. I don't trust him with anybody. But once he come here, I'm asking y'all reconsider the teachers, the staff, the bus aides, everybody, and Anna, she's a great bus driver, and the aides that take care of my son, they know how to control him. But if outside people come in, I'm not bringing my son. I would not bring my son on that bus. And if the staff, if the parents have to help out with the budget, whatever, or do some fundraising to keep these teachers here, then that's what we're gonna have to do.
Thank you, Ms. Smith.
Teresa Castillion, followed by Tim Ochipinti.
Yes, good evening. Thank you. Thank you, board members, board president. I'm here tonight, and yes, it's Teresa Castellano, 332 Hudson Street. I'm a 5-term councilwoman, yes. I was asked to come here tonight to lend my support, and that's why I'm here. Usually at these meetings, I just like to hear from the parents because these are the people who are being affected. But I was asked, and I'm here to support the children, the parents, the bus drivers, and our teachers. Kids first. You've had control over this board for, I would say, about 8 to 10 years. You have budgetary problems. The board majority, you've mismanaged the finances. The cost you need to look at before you take anything away from our children and threaten layoffs is number one, the increases in the budget every year, which adds into a tax increase for our residents. Top heavy with administrators. Brian Murray said it the best, excuse me. Hiring consultants and lawyers, high-priced lawyers, top heavy with very high salaries. Most of you are parents. Nobody says it better than a parent advocating for their child. Listen to these parents. They know what's best for their children. You run under the banner of Kids First. Live up to your title. You have given yourselves that title of Kids First. Put our kids first. And thank you to all the Hoboken families that came out tonight on behalf of their children. It's wonderful to see you support your families, and I am honored to be here and speak to you. I also have one big question, and I ask this all the time. I don't know what happens to some people after they get elected. They lose all perspective on where they're supposed to be and what they're supposed to be doing. Thank you.
Tim Ochipinti, followed by Brian Menard. I'm sorry, sir, that was followed by, you're Brian Menard, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, Tim is going to speak. Ochipinti, yeah. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Board, for allowing me to speak this evening. Tim Ochipinti, 126 Madison Street, 4th Ward Councilman here in the city. I'm here this evening at the request of some parents who sent some letters to some of their elected officials on just what these drivers and aides do for their special needs children. I do not have any children. I didn't know what the drivers did, to be honest with you. I thought they just brought the children to the schools that they needed to get to on time, until I read these letters and saw a far greater impact on the lives of these children than it is to just drive them to school on time. They're from this community. They know these children. They know their parents. They're there every moment of the day to ensure the safety for these children in some very hectic environments, whether it be traffic or ice and snow, the weather, the winter that we just had. To see this school board look to cut a service that helps the most needy of the children of this community saddens me. And the fact that you're not looking to find solutions to this problem, whether it be pay cuts for very, very well-paid administrative officials, the use of furloughs, cutting some programs but not others. It seems to me that you could do a little bit more work. But there's an underlying issue that's going on in this community that troubles me deeply at the city council and from what I see from our school board. And it's the erosion of the community here in Hoboken. It's the erosion that occurs when divisive politics get involved. And it seems like again and again it's the children of this community that seem to suffer, whether it be fees associated with playing sports now in the community of Hoboken that never existed before, whether it be this situation that we're seeing right now. I think you need to take a real hard look at what your policies are doing to the fabric of this community, because they're starting to destroy it, I see. And I think that you need to also recognize that many of these children we're talking about here tonight are born and raised Hobokenites. This divisiveness needs to end so that all the children of this community get what they need, a quality education, to get to and from school properly, and to support the parents. When you see this many parents come out, you need to really take note and listen to what they're saying. Thank you for your time this evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Brian Menard, followed by Alexis Torres and Nicole Blanos.
Hi, my name is Brian Minard. I live at 716 Hudson Street. I didn't intend to speak this evening, so I apologize for my lack of eloquence. I'm the father of a very special needs child, Tara, who's now 14, and for the last 9 years, we have had the great luxury of many of these people here picking her up every day and taking her to school. And every morning we get up, we know two things are true: that Georgia will turn up on time, and that Tara will be safely transported to the Bleshman School, have a full day, and then return on time. And we build our life around that. It's a clock that we work to. If you have a special needs child, you have to know every day that child will be picked up at a certain time and will be safely transported from A to B. They're not just drivers, they're not just bus people. You wouldn't outsource the teachers like this. These are incredibly important people in our lives. In fact, more important than most of the other people we deal with. I am stunned that you're thinking of outsourcing this critical function. If you're a parent with a special needs child, life is hard enough. You absolutely rely upon these drivers to be on time, and you entrust them with your child. I recall several years ago reading stories in the New York Times where in New York they'd outsourced a lot of these functions, and there was two particularly tragic stories. I hope I'm correct, and as I say, I don't recall them fully. But in one case, the low-cost providers hadn't done their due diligence in background checks, and unfortunately employed a violent criminal who decided to deal with an unruly autistic boy by throttling him to death. Another situation was, I believe, a child with CP was left overnight, and I think might have actually froze to death. I'm not sure how that happened. It's an extraordinary story. The New York Times ran a whole series, and I kept thinking, thank God we don't do that here. If you're really thinking of saving a few bob by outsourcing such a critical function, I really think you need to think again. For us parents, these people are critical to our life, and we're entrusting our daughters to them. Are we really going to leave our daughters and our sons in the hands of complete strangers who may or may not speak English, that we don't know, we don't trust? Can you guarantee that the company you employ will do due diligence and the background checks, and that will employ competent drivers and great aides? It's not apples and apples comparison. As I say, you wouldn't outsource to teachers like this. These are not just drivers and aides. They're not the highest paid in the system, but they are incredibly important to the parents of special needs children. And these kids, they're the most fragile and vulnerable members of our community. We should give them the highest protection. And that can't be done if you outsource to the lowest cost for-profit vendor. And I speak to you as a Republican, so trust me, I'm not normally on this side of the fence. But really, think about it. Are you really seriously saying you're going to get rid of these dedicated employees and replace them with the low-cost provider of out of town, where you're completely reliant on their due diligence to find the right people? That's not going to happen. If a bus turns up an hour late, how do we operate? And that used to happen occasionally. Seriously, my wife has to go to work, I have to go to work. We rely on the driver turning up on time every day. And the two things we guarantee is not just that that driver turns up, that Tara has a big, broad smile on her face when she sees Georgia at the end of this corridor. I mean, these are not just drivers and aides. They are an intrinsic part of our life. They are incredibly important to us. And I cannot believe you cannot look at the situation again and find ways to save money elsewhere. It really doesn't make any sense unless you're really talking about dropping the quality of service to the most vulnerable and fragile members of our community. And I can't believe that's your intent. I understand you want to save money. As a taxpayer who just got his recent reval, I share that thought. But this is not the way to go about it. This really is. You really need to reconsider it. These are not just drivers and aides. They are so much more to every family of a special needs child. We are not going to be able to we're not going to release our children to unknown people that turn up at strange times, who don't speak English. Can you guarantee the same level of performance that these people provide? Seriously? I don't think you can. I've run out of things to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Alexis Torres and Nicole Blanos, followed by Jason Yoon Hendricks.
Who's the first one?
Okay. My name is Alexis Torres, and I reside at 909 Clinton Street, and I came to speak on my history teacher, Mr. DiBernardo. Why are y'all taking my teacher away? This is not just a teacher. This is not just a history teacher. I just do not learn history. He gives us life lessons. He teaches me self-esteem. Even when I think I'm going to fail the next test, he tells me I can do it. Why take that away? As a student from inside Hoboken High School, I'm saying my true experience. This is not just a teacher. He's an ordinary person who loves his job. That's why he is a teacher. I don't think I should let him go.
This has not been an easy year for a lot of people. And even when I have been at my worst, or about to give up, or about to let everything go, his words have been what has kept me going, literally. He doesn't just teach us about dates and names. He teaches us what's important. And I really would not like to see him go.
Thank you, ladies, thank you. So it's Ms. Torres, and what was your name, young lady?
Nicole Bolanos.
Thank you, Nicole. Thank you, Ms. Torres.
Jason Yoon Hendricks, followed by Patricia Waiters.
Good evening. Many here tonight
Name
came
and
to...
address, please, Jason.
Apologies. Jason Yoon, Hendricks, Monroe Street. Many here tonight came to confront the public school board and the administration regarding the recent legal actions taken, others for the staff cuts and related decisions that have been forced on us. And yet others are here to protect the academic and curriculum programming, extracurriculars, and in-class resources. That's me. But really, everyone is here for exactly the same reason, which is funding. There are a few opportunists here. It's Hoboken, there always are. But nearly every parent here is, regardless of the school their child attends, is here because they want what is best for their kids. Because what is happening with public education in this town is a very real crisis for the charters and the traditional district. It is not the result of bad people on one side or the other. It is not the petition that asked the state to follow their own procedures and to do an analysis on the conditions on the ground in our tiny town with so many districts, more per student than anywhere else. It is not merely that charter budgets are by law part of the local public district budget, yet are externally mandated and controlled. At once completely independent, yet a significant portion of the district budget, and that has debilitating implications, with mandatory increases in the charters pushing up against mandatory state caps on tax levy increases. The crisis is not because charter schools only get 90% of what the traditional districts get per student, a reality that I was painfully aware of when my children attended a charter and I was a member of the fundraising committee there. It never stopped seeming like an arbitrary little insult baked into the state laws from the very beginning. And it is not the mere presence of charter schools or of families that exercise choice when they have it. Our children have achieved amazing things in their 4 years at Hoboken High School. This public high school truly achieves its mandate of not only reflecting its community, but serving the needs of its students. And it has made my children into better people in the process. But before that, we were happy and proud members of the charter school community. And our choice, by the way, was not based on the complexion of the student body. However, it was openly acknowledged as a problem back then when I served on the outreach committee. All of these things reflect serious fundamental challenges to both our charter and traditional public schools. But at its core, this crisis is the result of systemic underfunding of the public education system in this state and this country. I have said that the competition among Hoboken schools is a good thing, and I still believe that. But healthy competition requires clear rules, and it requires that those rules be observed by the players and the refs. In Hoboken and other towns all over the state, public schools, traditional, charter, and magnets alike, have been left to scrap around for funds, desperate to meet both state curriculum and testing mandates and maintain basic student programs and resources. The laws taken together favor no one. They actually perhaps may favor taxpayers, at least in the last few years. But big picture funding is what it's all about. If our schools were adequately funded, this wouldn't be happening. We could compete on our respective merits. Instead, these conditions pit parent against parent when it is flawed laws and state leadership hostile to public education that causes them. Christie cut state aid by nearly $1 billion in 2010. Last May, the courts ordered the administration to give a significant amount back to some of the state's poorest districts. But the sad fact is that it took courts to compel the state to do the right thing. This isn't about bad people. It's about good people, people that want the best education possible for their children, everybody here. And it is the mandate of this administration and the board to serve the needs of the public district students and families. They don't serve the needs of outside interests, not taxpayers, and not even teachers or staffers. I'm sorry, that is not what a school exists for. I am very sensitive and mindful of the role that they play in our children's lives. I can't tell you how much that's true. But they serve ultimately the public district students. And charter parents should demand nothing less of the trustees of their schools. And once the dust settles on the drama of the day, whatever the outcome, we would all do well to remember that our biggest problem is that we all share, the problem we all share, which is systemic underfunding of public education. And we would have a much better shot at fixing it if we ignored the opportunists and really worked together.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Yoon Hendricks.
Patricia Waiters.
Ms. Waiters.
Followed by Lise Oyuya.
Good evening, Patricia Waiters, 1233 Park Avenue. First of all, I want to thank this crowd that's standing behind me because I can actually be calm tonight. You know, I'm very, very impressed. This is all I ever asked for, to let the people know that at the end of the day, this body is not in charge. This is our home. You serve us, we don't serve you. And what I want to say is, 4 terms of running for the Board of Ed, for every meeting, every caucus, every town hall meeting on a local, city, and county level, stop playing place to blame. I told you before, don't run for public office if you're not going to be for the people. Wasn't I right? Look at the outcome tonight. Prior to the election, I stood at this microphone and I asked you nicely, again, here we go with kids first. If you're not going to put the people first, it ain't just about the kids, because you need teachers, lunch aides, bus drivers, and so on to take care of our kids, okay? And my thing is tonight, I keep hearing about money and funding and blaming Christie. It's pure mismanagement. I sit in this audience, I watch every dime. I told you before, okay, when it comes down to the preliminary budget, the regular budget, I'm here. We have so many condominiums. These taxpayers are paying lots and lots of money for you to be sitting here tonight talking about impacting anybody's job. This is a sad shame. This is sad in Hoboken. But you know what the problem is when you say outsource the bus company? Since this administration, you've been outsourcing every job. If you notice, we're working with a bunch of strangers. We're working with people we don't even know, and we have highly qualified people right here in our community. Don't that sound familiar at the debate? I said the same thing. You went outside 2 counties over, 2 towns over. It's about the people that live here. You will save a lot of money. When we need a superintendent, if it's a storm, we don't have to worry about getting a superintendent 2 hours from here. We'll have one on 8th Street. We have Charlie Tortorella. We have a lot of people that apply for these jobs, and you overlook them because of dirty politics. And tonight, I'm not being fooled, and I'm not going to let you deceive the public. It's about dirty politics. And what hurt me most is the last meeting, these little kids stood up at this microphone and begged and plead. You know what your answer already was. And it almost bothered me to tell these people, because I don't want to be a pessimist. I want to remain optimistic, to let them know it is what it is. My thing tonight is even being here is to protect them, but what's scary is the bus drivers today, the teachers tomorrow, the lunch aides, the security guards next. I'm being totally honest, okay? And that's what we elected you for, hoping that you will hold integrity. Now you want to talk about money and finding money? I got a lot of places that we can find money. All right? Start with the nepotism, with the no-show jobs, with the high administration jobs. You bother the little vulnerable people that's making pennies, that's barely making ends meet. Okay? You don't understand the impact this will have on our children. All right? Never loan people that have to feed their families. But I'm asking you again tonight, put the dirty politics aside, because at the end of the day, this is who runs this city. And I'm going to share with you what you all seen in the media's eyes. They're requesting to let a a council person step down because of derogatory comments. I'm glad Mr. Gold isn't here tonight, because that's another thing. You want to hold personal vendettas, and that's what go according to the way you vote, and blaming the charter school versus this one. I told you caused a civil war here, so I don't care if you try to play place to blame and who's racist and who's not. This time for all of us to stick together, and that's what I always ask the people of Hoboken. I'm going to continue to advocate for you, but what I want them to know tonight, it's not your decision. You don't get the last word. If we keep coming in numbers like this and write a formal request, according to Mr. Gold, with the well-organized rich people, if we write a formal request and request you to step down, leave, we deserve to pick who we want to run our government and our school. Okay? So if you won these little tricky elections, like I'm telling our mayor, with these referendums and appointing people versus somebody getting 2,600 votes, people vote for me because they know who they want to run their city. Somebody honest with integrity and know what's going on. No, I don't have to have a degree to count. I know what stealing is. I know what no transparency is, but I find the numbers out, so I must be smart, okay? So what I'm saying to you is you could throw all the derogatory statements at Pat Waiters. I have a clear facts of what's going on with this Board of Ed, with monies, and I ask you, way before the election, please don't let your decision impact no employee, no bus aid, no lunch aid, because I can tell you where we can get the money from. And the first step is starting to stick together like this and write a written request to ask all of you to step down with respect and dignity. Let somebody run this Board of Ed that's going to be open, fair, and transparent. And think about our kids. Even though you don't live here and your kids don't board that bus in the morning, and I could give you some horror stories where the kids will look for that driver. And if the driver not driving that day, they don't even want to get on the bus. They already bond with these bus drivers.
Ms.
So stop
Waiters.
breaking the bond. I'm wrapping it up, ma'am. Thank you.
you.
And I noticed my time went pretty fast tonight. But anyway, I'm wrapping it up. These kids already bond with the people that work for our school system. So I ask you again, if you're not going to reconsider, we'll make the next move. We'll write a formal letter and request all of you to step down. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Waiters.
Lise Oyuye, and followed by Leonardo Campaverde.
I thought it was 12, Mr. Moffett. Are we almost done?
No, we're up to 20 speakers tonight, and we are currently on speaker number 17.
Okay. So this list is closed for now for agenda
You would like to
items.
close it?
Because we had said it was only 12 in the beginning, and that's why I went with the 5 minutes. If we knew it was over 20, we would have limited. So this list is closed. If you still want to speak and you haven't signed up, we can still speak at open comment. And we'll make the closed session as quick as possible. I'm sorry. Please proceed.
Okay. Good evening. My name is Liz Oyuwe. I'm a mother of Megan Oyuwe. I live in 3250th Street, Hoboken, New Jersey. Today I came to talk about my daughter. She's been with Hoboken driver since more than 5 years, especially Lucy. She's here, Lucy. She's her driver, she's her mom. Just to let you know, in the beginning of the year, they changed the bus to have another company coming to pick her up, and it was a disaster. I have to call the Board of Education to let them know, please, I have to have my Lucy back for my Megan, my daughter. Please, save her job, and Lucy crew who always come to pick her up, and all of our maid and everybody, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
We have 3 more. Leonardo Campaverde, followed by Marisol Ruiz.
Good evening. My name is Leonardo Campoverde, 126 Willow Avenue. I'm a bus driver, and also I'm a grandfather of 4 kids. Since I started working in 2010 for the Board of Education like a bus driver, I'm adopted 7 more kids. The kids, so 7 kids, I like it, I love it. Like, they are my own grandkids. And I can't believe it that you guys want to take it away from us to give it to the strangers. That is all what I want to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Marisol Ruiz, followed by Juana Rivera.
The next speaker, do you know who's next?
Marisol Ruiz is next.
Ms. Ruiz?
Hi, how are you? I work for the Board of Education, Transportation, and it saddens me to be up here. I've been working for 4 years with this company. Love the kids. I enjoy coming to work. They're not just kids that get on the bus. They're our children. We're the one, when they're tired, we comfort them. When they're sad, we talk to them. When they have a runny nose, we're the one who wipe their nose. When they get sick, we're the one who's cleaning everything up. They come to us and tell us about what happened on the weekend with their mom, with their brothers. That's important to us. And it's sad that you guys want to privatize this company. You keep saying the budget, the budget, the budget, but if you privatize it, it's going to cost you more money in the long run. We do the field trips. We take the nurses when they have to give all the kids their medication. And it has to be on time. for their medication. Bus can't be late. They can't, say, oh, I'm sorry. We do the field trips. We do everything that needs to be done. We're the one, and we do it happily. We don't complain about it. It's our job. We don't come here just for a paycheck. We love our job. So please, try to save it. Not just for us, teachers. My daughter came to Wallace School, and it was the best thing for her. The best thing. She's in NJCU right now, and if it wasn't for these teachers that helped my daughter, she wouldn't be who she is today. Not just because of me and my husband, but because of them. Secretaries. Mildred is just not just a secretary, she's a friend. You could come to her. You need anything done, she has no problem with it. Janitors, securities. I don't understand why you just wanna just push everybody away and just, everything's about the budget. Last year it was the same thing, this year's gonna be the same thing, next year's gonna be the budget. When is it gonna stop? That's what I just wanna know.
Thank you.
Hi, I was born and raised in Hoboken.
Your
and
name,
Nancy.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, Nancy. And I've been a bus aide for 13 years, and I love my job too. And when it snows, the last snowstorm, I didn't get home till 8:30 at night. I made sure my kids were taken home safe to their parents, called up the parents, made sure every inch of the way, asked them if they needed something to eat. I talked to the parents. These kids love us. I could tell you their names that still see me in the street, married with children, and tell their kids that I was the bus aide, just not me, all the bus aides, all the bus drivers. We do our job for our children. And it saddens me too to know that I work and live in Hoboken and I'm losing my job. And I'm a single parent. All of us are single. We're losing our insurance, we're losing everything. I mean, not even a notice. I mean, would just come tell us, here's a notice. You're June 25th, you're out of a job. Where do I go? Tell me, where do I go? I don't know where to go. I can't sleep, I can't eat. I'm going to the doctor. It's frustrating. I mean, I understand a lot of it, but you have to understand, these kids are Hoboken kids, and we take care of Hoboken kids. And we make sure that they get in school. I take a little boy at my own time, Leo, the gentleman that was here, we take him to school to Wallace so he could eat because he doesn't eat in the morning. We make sure he gets to school by 1:45 so he could eat. Nobody else is going to do that.
Thank you, Miss Nancy.
The last speaker is Juana Rivera.
Miss Oliveira?
I'm Juana Rosa. This is my home, Hoboken. I'm in the school system since '96. I was a teacher's aide, and from there I came to be a bus aide. And I'm very happy that I'm here. This is my job, my kids. We got 10 fingers, all right, 10 fingers. They're not the same. We make mistakes sometimes. We're not perfect. I just want to tell you, please, I'm begging you, from all of us, from the drivers, from the bus aides. We love these kids. We want to stay in the job. Please, try to work it out. Please. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Oliveira. That was our last speaker on public comment, please. I'm sorry, Mr. Romano. Okay. Shh. Okay, let's all be calm. This is a tough night for all. I'm going to make a decision to allow Mr. Romano to speak, but that's the only exception I'm going to make. Then we're going to close it because
we have to keep moving along, and I gave the 5 minutes to everyone. I honestly would have made it 3, but we thought there were only 12 on the list, so I am apologizing. I'm going to make this one exception if that's agreeable to everybody, and it's 5 minutes, Mr. Romano, okay? Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you, Madam President, distinguished members of this board. A lot of things go through my mind right now. I'm a parent of a graduate of Wallace School, where as a young father working 2 jobs, the bus driver would hold my son, who was born across the street. I am also a proud member of the Hoboken High School teachers, of where I felt it was an honor. I'm a member of the Hoboken Teachers Association. I'm a former member of this distinguished board. I'm a member of the police. I've been a member of the police union for 20 years on their board. So many things go through my mind right now as I speak to you. Obviously, watching people trying to beg for jobs is a tough thing. We know what the economy is. We know there's such divisiveness being talked about between charters and public schools. I think that we have to find a way, somehow, to save this group of people. And it's just because you can see the attachment that the parents have, that they have to the children, and to the fact that they've served so many for so long. It's not political rhetoric. It's not a fire and brimstone speech. I think that the board and the town and the city and the people here have to find solutions. There has to be brainstorming. In my world of law enforcement, you solve a problem, you sit around the table. Bring people together. Try to work through this. Find where we can save cuts. At the county level right now, we're trying to make cuts also, but trying to retain services without layoffs. It's not an easy position that you're in, but you have to understand how attached and how emotions do get involved in a situation such as this. There is so much undercurrent of things. Of course, it's easy to say this is political, that's rhetoric. We have to find a way for everyone to sit down, roll up those sleeves, work together, not adversarial, and that goes for everyone here. We have to keep these people employed. We have to find a way, and we have to keep the crown jewel, the Hoboken public school system, vibrant and afloat, because it is a great system. And we have to also respect that there is parental choice. So there's so many things going through this that everyone has to understand and take the politics out of it and the rhetoric. And I have to reiterate that because that's where it seems to be going. There has to be a way to find, to save these people. And also, we have to foresee and be preventive and proactive so that this doesn't happen again. And we have to work together because obviously there's so many issues affecting the public school system here in Hoboken. To attack it is not the answer. To support it is an answer. To work with all the parents in this city. Because as myself, right now you're all elected by all these people. And we have to listen to what the people are saying. And a dialogue, a two-way dialogue with so many people, the miscommunication that's out there, it's so important that we need to communicate. And I hope, and I thank you for the time you've given me. I appreciate the exception, but as much as these are my people, they are your people. Their struggle is your struggle. It's our struggle together. Please consider a way to get this done. You're competent. I know you can do it. God bless everybody here in this board. Let's do it.
Thank you, Mr. Romano. Well, we're going to comment and we'll take a vote. Okay, there. There were very few actual questions in there. There are general questions that were at the podium, but right now we are going to just have comments from the superintendent, if he wishes to say anything, and from the board. And then, as I said, what we're going to do is poll the items that we have to discuss in closed session, and then we'll vote on the agenda. So first, comments from
Dr. Toback, if you would like to say anything?
I would like to actually reserve my comments for a little bit later.
Okay.
I will respond to many of the questions that were asked. I need a little time to put all this together. I will very happily respond to many things that have been said and clarify some very important issues. But I need a little time to put that together.
So now, first, the items that we need to pull for closed session so that we can take that out.
It's up to you guys.
It's just the one, correct?
That item?
There's one item that we need to pull,
9.15?
Yep.
9.15.
So, Ms. McAllister.
Wait, not 9.15. 9.13, correct?
Okay. It's just, so, right now, we could do one of two things. We can go and we can vote, and then we can, I'm sorry, we can go to closed session. Don't pull anything right now. Leave the agenda intact. Go to closed session for certain items, and then come back out and vote. You can pull certain items if you wanted to, but you're still going to have to go to closed session and vote. So
Right.
you could
So
spend,
this is what I thought we would do. I thought that we would comment on the agenda, on the public on the agenda item comment, what we just listened to.
Yes.
And at the same time, and then at the same time, if we want to comment on or ask questions on any agenda items, other than the closed session item, which would be 9.13.
and there's also legal updates. So the reasons to go to
And we'll
closed
be
session.
doing those
Right,
in
and I
closed session as well.
I have items that I would like pulled, and I have questions on them, so maybe Dr. Toback's suggestion is best to
Well,
go into closed session and then,
Well, the only reason why I was suggesting the order was that there's a lot of people here, and a lot are parents, and so I thought it might be better to have our comments about the public comment, or the agenda comments we just heard, and then vote, so that if they didn't want to stay for the results of closed session and for the open session, they saw some fruition to this section of
but
that.
we can still pull items, because I have items that I want pulled and questions on those items.
You have questions on items right now, right?
On the agenda items.
On the agenda
Correct.
items? Yeah, we can ask. Okay, so
So you want to go to closed session first?
should we go in closed session first? It'll only be how long?
All I'm saying is that if we pull items and go through that whole process, or we go to closed session, there's no net effect. In other words, the same items will still be out there, the same questions may exist. Some of them, because of the nature of the discussion, may be closed session items anyway.
Okay.
Others, questions that have to be asked in public,
Okay.
we can answer as we come out of closed session.
Okay, and I apologize to the public for this, but I'm trying to do it in the most efficient way so that, people can, be here for a long time. So how long do you think we would be in closed session for?
I am thinking that you'll be in closed session for probably somewhere around 30 to 45 minutes.
Okay, so would if the board will go into closed session. For the audience, we're going to make a motion to go into closed session. We're going to make it as quickly as we can, and we'll come back out. So, motion?
Second.
Second?
Sorry, motion? I need a motion.
Do I gavel?
Wait, and Vito has to say what it is.
Oh, wait. Vito has to say,
Reasons. Personnel, pending and anticipated litigation. Is there anything else? Okay,
No.
That's got to be the reason to be in the motion.
okay. Okay, thank you for your patience. We'll be back shortly. Okay, we all here? Do I do this? Thank you so much for being patient, and we apologize.
Sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Do we vote to come out of executive
Oh.
You do. You have to vote.
Oh, we have to vote to come out of session?
Yes.
Motion
Are we
to come out of-
ready?
Second. Who made the motion? I second.
Is it on, Mr. McCauley? Okay. Okay, do I have a motion to come out of closed session?
Motion. Second.
Thank you. To
the public, we apologize for the longer than expected time in closed section. And just before I open it up to Dr. Toback and the board who want to comment before we vote, I just wanted to make sure, one, that everyone understands what actually 915 is that we're voting on this evening. It is not a list of people that are not coming back. It's a list of people, excuse me, that do have contracts as of right now for next year. So it's actually who we're hiring at this time for next year. What's good is that currently there is and was, prior to this meeting, an offer by the union for a continued dialogue that has already begun and which the administration and the board is completely willing to continue to see what we can do to take a very difficult budget situation and improve it so that the concerns that were addressed by our parents and the employees this evening can be addressed. The other we are also very delighted that, because one of the issues is, this isn't, we keep using the term was used a lot, cutting the budget, but really what it is there's less money. We're not cutting money we have, it's that there's less money. So part of that is the raising of revenue to make up the shortfalls. And all of us in closed session were delighted that it appears that the city is receptive to conversations with them that could to discuss how they can help us in our situation to be able to not have to take the drastic measures that all of you are so concerned about. There's already been was started a fairly aggressive conversation by some of us with people in the city about how they can help, and we're really delighted that city officials came today to really tell us that they're very receptive to helping us with our unusual situation that we have this year and that we're going to continue to have for the next couple of years. So with that, I just wanted to start with that so that you know where we are. I think that that should feel a little bit positive. I can't give you more than that because we need to have, as it stands, we need help to do what we need to do. But with that, I'm going to open it first to Dr. Toback and then to the board to comment on your remarks in regard to the agenda and also other agenda items before we vote. So, Dr. Toback?
Thank you, Mrs. McAllister. So I'm going to state once again something that's very important, something that I have said to the employees who I have sat with in many cases when we go through this reduction in force. Okay, so tonight, as Mrs. McAllister said, the board is not voting to let anybody go. We're voting to hire a list of people that we know we can afford at this point. Now, lots of things can happen between now and the end of the school year. Lots of things can happen between now and September 1st. So right now, what we're doing is the list of people we have are the list that we know we can afford to continue to employ in the district. Lots of other discussions are taking place, will take place, and every effort will be made to preserve as many jobs as we can. But the one thing we can't overlook is something I mentioned in our budget hearing. This school district, according to the Department of Education, is $2.3 million underfunded right now. That means that the district's budget should be $2.3 million higher than what it is if we are going to provide an adequate education for the mix of students that we have attending these schools. That's a very important point. Now, the other thing I wanted to talk about a little bit has to do with some of the comments that were made tonight. Our board members are nice people with very tough jobs. And so some of the comments that were made as if they were callous, cold-hearted individuals, people who care little about the students, people who care little about the employees of this district. And I can tell you, first of all, many of the board members here are new. There is nothing that could be further from the truth. And I find those comments, and I don't really say much about these types of things, but that kind of comment is so irresponsible, because these are people who truly do care about your kids, and they truly do care about everything that goes on in these schools, and they take great pride in working as board members. So we have spent months thinking about different options, different ways of trying to save jobs, do the best that we can for the students in this district in a very difficult financial situation. And it's easy to blame people. It's easy to say there's politics in place. It's easy to say that board members are irresponsible. But again, nothing could be further from the truth. So I'd like to just go back, because I was thinking about, for example, one of the statements was made that the Board of Ed has all these high-paid administrators, right, way beyond the norm. Now, the thing to understand is, I talked to Mr. Gagliardi, who definitely has direct experience with this. There are 18 fewer administrators in this district working now than there was just a few years ago. So you understand that there's been significant reductions, and we're reducing one more. We're reducing one more. So administrative work is very important. And the idea that the district hasn't cut back on administrative spending is preposterous. The idea that the idea that this is happening as a random event, so that was suggested that basically, why now? The Board of Ed is required to act by May 15th. That is the law of the state. And so for non-renewals, for notification, it's not that the board is trying to give everyone a hard time or give you short notice, but May 15th is the date. And so that's why this is happening now in advance of May 15th. We have to provide notice. The other thing that was said, going along with the idea of irresponsibility and mismanagement, was that somehow we knew as a district that we were going to have this very difficult budget time. So I'd like to go over the factors that have shaped our budget. And I've talked about this at our last budget hearing. I've talked about this in prior meetings. We've talked about our budget. We've talked about it in our budget forum. We've been talking about this for months. Many of the people who attended tonight have not attended any of these events, but they're here questioning our situation with our budget, and that's okay. You're allowed to do that, but there's a whole lot that goes to it. And so, example one, the district, like I said, is $2.3 million underfunded. Our state aid is virtually flat. We have almost no increase in state aid. There's no way that the Board of Ed can control what we receive in state aid, period. Two, school choice is a program that the Department of Ed started. It's a program that the Department of Ed does not have the money for. They never had the money for, but it expanded, and now they've cut back on it. The Board of Ed has no control over that. The Board of Ed has no control over the topic of sequestration, the reduction of federal aid that we're required to every year continuously reduce in our budget. No control over that. The board has no control over charter expansions. So the fact of the matter is, $780,000 for the past many, many years that's been coming out of the budget, up to $1 million in some years, to the point where we are at about $8.3 million that it will be coming out of our budget in this coming year. The Board of Ed has no control over that other than to raise the issue with the Department of Ed and say, hey, please look at this district and what's happening here and what's going to happen to our students in the future if this continues, if everything else remains the same. Very important point. Surplus. So we talked about another factor driving the budget, surplus as revenue. So to make a long story short, the board has taken the surplus we have and we've budgeted it as revenue in the following year. We don't have any reason to think that we're going to have that money. We don't have any reason to think that that will be anything that we could do in the coming years. So we have to reduce that. Now, the only thing you can accuse the board of is basically giving too much money back to the taxpayers. That's maybe the only thing you can accuse them of, taking too much of the surplus and giving it back to the taxpayers. That's about it. Now, the other important part about that is that it's also something that the board has a little control over because they're only allowed to keep a 2% surplus. So anything beyond that, they would have to give back anyway. Again, very little control over that particular issue. And the other issue is the issue of the school lunch deficit. Right? That's $200,000. $200,000 that is the result of mismanagement. that is the result of lots of different things happening, people not paying for lunch, people not being billed for lunch, a whole host of things that happened for years, that the board brought in an organization, and in the end, we've made a lot of progress on that. So instead of budgeting $500,000 or $600,000 out of the budget, which was a regular activity on an annual basis to cover our food service losses, we now last year got to the point where we spent, I think, about $24,000 to cover any losses in the food service operation, which, by the way, is not an easy thing to do, to go from losing hundreds of thousands of dollars to getting to a few thousand. And we continue to improve on that. And hopefully we get to a break-even point. But all that takes time. So, listen, I don't want to diminish in any way, shape, or form the difficulty that the employees of this district are facing, the people who work in the transportation department, the people who work as teachers. There's nothing that any of us can say to really help with the difficulty individually that all of you face. None of us here want to see any of this happening. But we do have this other issue, and yes, there is the budget. It is an issue, and yes, it will continue to be an issue, which I have said for a while. None of these things will go away. No time soon. So unless those things do not change, we're going to continue to do this. And it's something that I don't want to see, none of us want to see, but unfortunately, most of the factors that we have, that we're talking about, are things that are, for the most part, beyond our control, and will continue to be beyond our control. That is why it is very encouraging that the city council members were here, that maybe they can help with some certain issues that we'd like to deal with. I think that's fantastic. We will do everything we can in the next few months, so be assured it will not be from a lack of effort in terms of our ability to save jobs in this district. And like I said, I think that it's very important to recognize the service that we all put in, you as employees of the district, we as the administration, we're all trying to work together for solutions, and we'll continue to do that. It has nothing to do with politics, has nothing to do with a lack of communication, has nothing to do with sharing ideas. It has to do with a very tough process that nobody has been able to find this miracle cure. Right? We've been doing this for months, and there isn't. There isn't. So I hope that I've been able to clear up some of the issues that have been brought up tonight. And once again, I say what I've said before, we're very sorry. It should not have to come to this, and we do apologize for what's happening. It's a very sad thing. I'm sorry about that.
Okay, so I'd like to open it up to the board. Which end wants to start? Ms. Rose Kearns, would you like to comment? And agenda items as well?
No agenda items, thank you, but I would like to comment on the dialogue that's going to be ongoing. And I wanted to say I'm grateful for the elected officials who did come here in support of all these fine people who are in fear of losing their jobs. And let's get that dialogue going. Like you said, Ruthie, we're going to approach it aggressively with the city, and hopefully that's a solution towards saving a lot of these jobs. Thank you.
Who's next over there? I'm sorry, Ms. Mitchell?
Yes, no, I also agree. I hope we can continue to work, like Mr. Romano said, roll up our sleeves and continue to work with the city and all avenues to get our position better. Okay, thank you.
Ms. Sobola?
I think this is about my fourth budget meeting, and I have to say that in the previous years they were a lot more fun. You know, we had certain situations where we were able to, you know, whether through attrition or retirement or finding cost savings and different efficiencies, and we were able to provide so many things to our staff and our children, and even absorb the new charter school at the time. And as Dr. Toback said, there's a lot of things now that are kind of constraining us, restricting the ways that we earn the revenue. So this was a tough one. I mean, I'm sure we've all heard from people. Many of the people sitting here are my friends. Many of them I've grown up with. Many of them are teachers or employees, staff for my children. I'm glad that the dialogue will continue, and I hope that we can work together. And we'll see if some of the elected officials, I know that they were here, and I look forward to their support.
Thank you, Ms. Hallock. Mr. Kupfeld? Oh, no, I work on the ends so that I end with me.
I spent the past many months working on the budget as chairman of the Finance Committee. So I've been crunching a lot of numbers and looking and looking and looking and talking to Dr. Toback and to Bill and to other board members. But what I appreciate tonight is hearing from the parents and the staff, because I know it's about the budget, but it's also not about the budget. It's about the people. And I promise you, what we heard tonight from parents and from the staff is taken very, very seriously, and we will continue to work on this and try to find solutions. We cannot promise anything, but we are going to try. And I appreciate the community's support from other people that we heard tonight. I think that's going to help. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Stramo?
Many faces I know and I see on a daily basis here, and I'm so thankful and grateful for everything that you do. You are our saviors, and I'm just thinking back to the comment last week when a parent said that we needed to think out of the box, and he basically said that we were thinking small. Well, I think we've been thinking really big, and I hope that our big thinking really does pay off and that people put the money where it should be put. And just so you know, we are really, really trying so hard to save your jobs. And by no means, I haven't slept in weeks, honestly, thinking about you guys and thinking about our students. And I'm passionately, I'm just so passionate, I'm sorry, thank you. That's all I have to say is thank you.
Thank you, Monica. Ms. Evans?
Sure. I also wanted to thank everyone for coming tonight. I think I knew that it, of course, is not about the numbers, and seeing and hearing the people whose lives are affected makes that even come home stronger. The staff, the parents, I think like everyone on this board, I didn't get into this thinking it would be easy, but I also didn't think that I'd be here making these kind of decisions about my children's teachers, the person who drove her to her field trip, on her field trip today. Everyone here is involved in the district children's lives, and that's why all of us are doing this, is to make things better for the district and the kids who live here. I'm hopeful tonight. I'm glad that it's not the end of the process, that we're going to work on a couple of fronts, and hopefully, again, as Tom said, not to promise things, but hopefully we can work things out.
Thank you, Ms. Evans. And now I just would like to say a few things. The first, I just wanted to, interestingly enough, I'm not sure what year Ms. Rose Kearns was elected, but after her, I'm actually the most senior on the board right now, and my election was April 2009. So but there was a lot of discussion about fiscal management, and certainly I would understand how a person who has not attended regular meetings and was happy in the district and things were going well is not, necessarily aware of what was going on fiscally with the board. But I just wanted to remind everyone that in 2008, KPMG did a audit, and so that was in 2008. It was presented to the board, I believe, in May of 2009, which was a month after I was elected to the board. So it was one of my first few meetings, and it was a very
distressing audit. It was 29 repeat audit violations, most of them signifying spending that was done that wasn't for educational purposes. And it was full of a lot of very, what else could you call it, but very loud finger waving at what was going on. And the thing that I would like the public to know is since that audit, we are now, CUSAC is the overall governing body, then the report that determines how we're doing. And we now have a 95% rating, and it's out of 100. So we've really straightened out our house fiscally, and we've actually won awards for it. So even though we're in this crunch right now, our spending is on our children, on educational services, and where it's supposed to be. And there is this shortfall, which the state recognizes, that we are currently underfunded by $2.5 million, which is about what we had to try to find this year. So I just wanted you all to understand that there is not fiscal mismanagement. Things have actually improved greatly since 2009 in our management of our budget. It's a very interesting conundrum being elected to office, and I think everyone here feels it, and I certainly think the elected officials that came feel it. You campaign for change, you get reelected on your record, and you have to make decisions every day that are before you, and they really can't be about votes. They have to be about who's most important to us. City has different things. Us, obviously, it's the education of the children. We have to take that into consideration. We have to take into consideration, or at least this is what I do, and I'm sure most of us do, or all of us do, the laws, the facts, and where our moral or ethical compass is. And that's what we have to do all the time. And in these last couple of years, all of us will agree that there are times that there's very difficult decisions that you have to get through and figure out the best solutions for. And it's scary for us every time. And it's certainly most scary when it's affecting something that has always been the last thing that everyone that I'm close to on the board has always said, which was not transportation. Not transportation. They're taking just as you parents addressed it, our most precious group of children that need the most support. And it has always been a no for me. And the only reason it's even on this list for any of us is because it's not about cutting a budget, it's not about lowering taxes, it's about money that's not there. So I am so happy, and I knew it was ongoing, that the union is, there's an ongoing conversation there, and I am very happy that we can continue to aggressively pursue the discussions we can have to raise revenue, because that's actually what we need to do. And just before we vote, we all received a letter today, and I'm very proud of the employees that spoke today. I'm very proud of the parents that spoke today, and I'm very proud of the others that also came forward, because it's not easy. And we got, all of us got an email that I think was very, hit us home, and it's really how a lot of us feel. Some parents publicly advocate for their own children. They are strong and confident that they can't imagine why another parent would not. I can. I understand that some parents do not feel so emboldened. Some don't know how to speak out, or are busy at jobs, or are alone taking care of their children, or trust the system, or spent their whole lives learning not to stand up, not to be a problem, not to expect things. And some people are afraid of conflict. They don't want to make enemies, and some are just shy. But our children deserve an advocate too, and that is why I thank you. I thank you, Dr. Toback, and the board for being a voice for the silent majority of Hoboken children, because they deserve it. Dr. Toback, as an experienced administrator, you may be accustomed to standing tall, weathering challenges, and standing your ground when you know it's right. I appreciate that. I am extra impressed with the board because you are not lawyers or politicians. I see that you are regular people with high ideals and maybe not used to battering that has come with the position in the recent charter debate. I don't think competition for the budget with other districts used to be part of the deal, and I admire your strength in the face of the challenges this brought. As a parent, as a district parent, I've always been tied up in knots over, I'm sorry, I'm reading verbatim, the segregation. It's fine for people to choose friends, churches, clubs, but it's not fine when school choice leads to segregation we see here, because it looks a lot like government-funded segregation. I realize the segregation is economic more than racial, but the sad part is the kids see it. I think this is, I'm proud of this parent for sending this to us, and I'm equally proud for all the parents that spoke tonight, because I know a lot of you are in this category, so thank you. Okay, with that, we'll call the vote.
We're doing the whole thing?
We can do a consent agenda, and, we'll just, if, you say yes to all, and if you want to vote differently, call out the item numbers for Mr. Moffett to record. Okay?
I have a motion?
Motion?
Second.
Oh, can I motion? Okay.
What do you
go ahead.
think?
Ms. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Cluffell?
Abstain on 10.07 and yes on the rest of the agenda.
Ms. McAllister?
Yes.
Ms. Mitchell?
Yes.
Mrs. Rhodes Kearns?
No on 9/15, that's the 2014-2015 school employee. No on 10/06, the contracts. And no on 10/12, the advertisement contract.
Yes on the rest.
And yes on the rest of the agenda. And are the minutes of the meeting on here? No.
Ms. Sobolev?
Yes, and abstain on 9.15?
And Ms. Stromwell?
Yes.
Okay.
Motion's passed, yes.
Okay, now we'll move on to public comment. We have 12 individuals?
That is correct, 12 speakers listed.
Okay, we're still going to have, we're not limiting the time, but, if you don't need the full 5. Okay, so first speaker, and will you tell the person
Next.
who's on deck? Thanks.
Angel Rosario Sanchez first, and followed by Gary Enrico. Is Angel present? Angel?
Mr. Sanchez? Did he leave?
Must have.
Yes?
I don't see him.
Okay.
Mr. Enrico?
As I state every time I get up here, and even my conversations with the superintendent, this is never on a personal level for me. And I think for the members, I have to say the same thing, but there's people up here that are fighting for their jobs. But I did stand up here numerous times to say that I'm willing to work with you. But I'm going to implore the board to let's move that along. If you want to have a serious dialogue with us, because I think we do, all right, let's get to the table. You know what? And I'll be more than happy. I'm sure, we get our team together, we get Ed, and I'd be willing to sit in a room to see if there's something that we can work out, because we're willing to talk. But you have to come to the table in a serious nature and come with proposals that we could possibly sell to our members, because this is a sale, we have to also work with a membership. So I know this is your problem and it's our problem also. But negotiations, you have to come to that table ready to work it out. And Dr. Toback, I've been asking you, and we've had discussions, and I've talked to him all last week. He's very accessible, and we've had a dialogue ourselves, a continuous dialogue. And believe me, I'm willing to work it out. But right now this is all talk. Let's get to the table, and let's see what we can work out. I'll lock ourselves in a room. Let's see what we could do. But it's going to have to be something that's going to be reasonable. It's our problem, but I don't want us to, at the end of the day, it's going to be our fault now. You know what I'm saying? I want us to work together. All right, this is a district I love. I know a lot of these people for many years. I had some of them as students of mine. So I'm willing to not me, but my negotiating team, let's sit down sooner than later. All right, so let's see if we can get some type of closure to this. All right?
Thank you, Mr. Enrico.
Brian Murray, followed by Shah DeLeo.
What was the first name?
Brian Murray.
Mr. Murray?
Brian Murray, 701 Monroe Street. Now, not rehired and letting people go sounds like the same thing to me. You can spin it any way you want as not rehired, but it's really letting people go that already have jobs, that won't have jobs come September. You know, this is just a spin job. The whole thing about, oh, well, maybe the city can come and help us. We had some elected officials here tonight. Well, who we didn't have here tonight was the city council majority, Mrs. Giatano, Mr. Bala, Mr. Mello, Mr. Cunningham, Mr. Doyle. And we didn't see the mayor here either. So all the people who could actually help and really press, none of those people were here to help these folks. So that's just a simple spin job and a lie, and I hope that these folks don't bank on that being their savior. But the real truth is that, you know, you talk about lack of solutions and this whole spin job with the charter schools, and that it's a big blame game, and Dr. Toback just went off about, you know, the difference with the school choice and the sequestration and the charter expansion, and it's all just basically, to me, a bunch of bull, because you know, I look here at something you did approve tonight, number 10.07, which is the approval of the Elysian Charter School lease. Now, last year I got up here and said that it was a sweetheart deal for them and that there was a lot of money being left on the table, money that could be used to pay for bus drivers, a lot of money on the table. Yet, it just gets approved again as another sweetheart deal. And I have to ask them, why is that the case when you just said this is about generating revenue? And yet, you overlooked this one item on the same agenda where you were letting people go. So I wonder what that's all about. Now, is it about the fact that maybe all charter schools are not created equal? Is that what this is about? Because here you have essentially Elysian Charter School and Ola Charter School that have basically the same demographics, yet one is being called segregationist, and the other one is just overlooked. Is it because the mayor's kids go there? Is it because Mr. Mello's kids go there and other people? I don't know. You know, but why isn't that part of what you're looking at to raise revenue? You know, it begs the question, you know, maybe there was really more to this whole charter school thing than just about filling a budget gap. You know, I had the opportunity today to go to Demarest, and you know, while I was there seeing who was on the get to keep their job list, you know, I ended up being in the offices of the Board of Education, these huge offices that are the size of 2 classrooms. I mean, I wonder why those can't be leased out to, say, Ola Charter School for their expansion, and maybe make some money off of them instead of trying to squash them, and try to, you know, instead of pointing blame and saying, that's our problem, is that the charter school, this charter school over here is the problem, not that charter school. And instead, people have to lose their jobs because it's about this one. Now, the fact of the matter is that as I go back to some of Dr. Toback's issues about what's wrong with the budget, school choice, well, it was a financial parlor trick to begin with, that we could take people from another town and bring them into our school district that had no real loyalty to our school district, and we got a little bit more money for it. Well, when the state said, whoa, that's not really what we're going to do, then all of a sudden it becomes a budget gap. You were trying to fill a budget hole to begin with instead of really coming up with solutions for our school system and the size and the amount of students that there are. Sequestration, another thing that's very questionable. Actually, I just read something online that the federal government made a big deal about it, and only one person actually lost their job to sequestration. So I wonder what that really impacts us in New Jersey. And then this whole food service. I mean, the fact of the matter is what we're really starting to do now is the food service, the debt service is being required to be paid down now. And it's not, oh, well, we actually paid all this down. We haven't even begun to do that. So yeah, there are some financial issues there. But again, it's planning. And you had a chance right here tonight to add some more revenue and save people's jobs. And instead, you wanted to talk about how great the audit was, and doesn't it feel great? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Murray. Next speaker, please.
Shah DeLeo, followed by Anthony Romano.
All right.
Name and address.
Shah DeLeo, 216 10th Street. I actually had some things to talk about that would have been more relevant last week, and maybe I'll save them, those comments. But I do not understand the budget, but if it helps to bring more kids into the district, I would encourage young parents and new parents to try it. Take a tour, try it out. That's how I started. I didn't really know much about it when I first started, but I said, let's take it year to year, and it's been great. Every year has been great. And our teachers, every single teacher that she's had, from pre-K all the way to 6th grade, which is where we are now, have been so intelligent, highly educated, hardworking. I see them giving extra help at lunchtime. I see them giving extra help after school. In all of her years, her teachers have been very, very capable of teaching to the top of the class and the bottom of the class all at the same time, and they do just a fabulous job. I mean, we have kids in her class who score perfectly on the standardized tests and the kids who don't, and the teachers do so much for all of them. And that's the way it should be. So I just want to say that I have had an excellent experience in the public school. My daughter has learned a lot, and she's had great teachers. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Anthony Romano, followed by Michelle Russo. Mr. Romano? No?
I think he left.
Mr. Romano?
He left.
Michelle Russo?
Mrs. Russo, she's coming.
Followed by Angel Quinones, or Angel?
Michelle Russo, Church Towers. I'm a little upset over the whole teacher and bus driver thing. I don't understand it. What I really don't understand is that when I hear about budget gaps, and I don't understand it in the city either, so it's not just you, but there's a lot of waste that could in fact stop. We have a lot of administrators that probably we don't need. I don't know that factually, I'm just making a statement. When I sit on that board, we did not have half of the administrators that you have. And that becomes a problem. I mean, I know factually we have a lot of kids that are in special needs that have to be bused to private schools. You don't even have a company yet, from what I understand from speaking to everybody. And I don't know that you're going to save any money. Do they have aides that are going to be on these buses? Or do you have to hire aides to be on the buses with them? And if that's the case, I mean, there's lots of things that you guys have to look at before you can just arbitrarily say you're fired. The teachers, I am a proud mother of 3 kids who graduated from the Hoboken school system. My son Michael is now a doctor in physical therapy. And I have to tell you, my other son's a narcotics detective, and my oldest is living in Jackson because he can't stay here anymore. But unfortunately, there's like just so much, like Leon Gold's comments in the newspaper were very, very upsetting to me. Ola is not prejudicial whatsoever. I mean, I don't have children that go to the system anymore, but my grandchildren do, in fact, go to the system. And, well, not all of them, but they did. And you have a problem with the fact that people look at you guys and say, they don't care about us. What do they care? I hope that's not the case. I certainly hope that's not the case. But I had someone who doesn't have children in our system but was here and said to me, boy, they really hate you guys. I was kind of surprised. I said, wow, really? They said, yeah. She said, you don't see it? I said, well, I come from a different place than most people, but yeah, I do see it. You know, I do see certain things that happen, but I really and truly hope that you mean what you say about working with everyone and, in fact, leaving these people employed rather than unemployed. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Russo. The
Angel Quinones?
Mr. Quinones? Quinones, sorry, I pronounced that
Next
badly.
speaker is Patricia Waiters,
Ms. Waiters?
and followed by Cheryl Fallick.
Say my name. Patricia Waiters, 1233 Park Avenue. Start. Again, I stand at this microphone, and this is for you, Dr. Toback. Next time, just say my name, because even if you wasn't directing those comments to me, I felt like you was. When I stand at this microphone, it's not to hurt nobody and be harsh with the language that I use. I told you when I met you a couple of years ago, and yes, I do attend everything, and I was at the forum when you was at the superintendent search forum, and my choice was Miss Griffin, okay? She wasn't picked, but I still work with you, and I knew she was the best candidate. So when I stand up here and talk about politics, okay, and be accused of saying politics, it is what it is. You guys are not going to stop me from saying it's politics, it's political. Ms. Sobolov, when you got elected to the board, appointed, may I say, after your audit, the guy stepped down because of all the mumble jumble that was going on. And right then and there, the seat became available, and again, it was appointments open. I applied, being African American, the majority had an opportunity to have somebody, a minority or an African American, to represent the people. Did y'all pick me? No. Have nothing to do with education and qualifications. This is a volunteer position, and I volunteer my time with the community anyway, for all the students and the parents, okay? So I never ran for the board for political reasons, so when I stand here and express myself and my opinion that I own, like he owned his own opinion, I own my facts tonight. I bring facts, not opinions no more. 6 years of running for this board, yes it is. The campaigning is done, y'all won. So when you sit up here and say how sorry you are, and this young lady, I don't even know and I have nothing against her, get really choked up, I should be the one getting choked up, because I continue to still fight for the Hoboken residents as they advocate. And that's the reason I run. I don't have to impress you and tell you my track record and what I've done lately. The campaign is done, okay? My actions speak louder than my words. So if you're relating those comments to me about how harsh somebody up here to make you feel bad, it's not time for sympathy. It's pure, dirty politics. And my boxing gloves are on and I'm ready to fight. Now you, Mr. Eureka, I want to mention you because you gave me some sound advice that made the hair stand up on my back, and I'm keeping it real with you. When that chair became available and you had me and Mr. Garcia already resigned, Mr. Garcia begged and pleaded you. He said, with my experience, I'm a minority, I'm leaving, please at least consider the minority. We all know the political gadget that was done. We know how these seats is appointed. The mayor knew the seat was up. First you tried to bring the other guy that was a candidate with me that pulled out of the election and had the nerve to show up and appoint the seat. That wasn't politics? Yes, it was. So stop telling me and trying to deceive the public saying it's not political. It is political. In past practice, it shows that's how it been. You have Mrs. Russo here. Her husband was the mayor. Her son is a longtime councilman. You have Ms. Castellano here, a councilwoman. And then to disrespect Romano, the county freeholder. So this is what I'm saying. It's nothing wrong with you running for not hard-working position. This is appointed. This is the ones I'm talking about is the appointed. You was appointed when you first ran, Ms. Sobolov, is what I'm saying, when the seat became available. So let me slow down so y'all can get where I'm going with this. Listen to me. When somebody went in the booth and elected me, yes, numbers do matter, Miss Vice President. It does matter. What I was saying to you is 2,600 people as residents of Hoboken wanted me to run, and they wanted me to assist them as far as being a trustee on the board, not appointed. So I'm not here to make her feel bad. I'm here to give facts of how I feel that it's political. And yes, it is. The deal was cut with Mayor Zimmer when she endorsed your ticket. How many years I've been saying when a mayor get involved with the board, we have problems. We see it in Jersey City, Weehawken, Bayonne. Mr. Toback, yes, it is politics. Okay? Whether you put it in a gift bag, a wrapped up bag, or a box with a bow, it's political. The sad part is that the people suffer. Hardcore bad things being said, but it tells the truth. Okay, so that's why I felt when I said mismanagement, yes, I attend the budget meetings, and I can tell you a lot of things where we can save money, starting with the robocalls. Dr. Toback, no disrespect to you either. I stand here and I got offended when you just said that. Next time, just say Patricia Waiters and use my picture. But past practice Hoboken politics versus now is the same as before, but worse. Yes, it is political. I told the people before they even left, don't waste their time. Whether people see their name on the list now that's worse. To get appointed now, the ones that don't have their jobs, that was a nice, dirty way to do it. Okay, so you already said, we sorry, we want to save your jobs, but the people that's on the list that you voted for have a job. What about the other people that don't? So there's no other reason but what I said tonight that was exactly right. So you should have saved yourself some time and energy and stop speaking after I leave, because anything I say at this microphone, I could back it up. Because I go home and watch TV only to hear you put words in my mouth like you did last time, Ruth. Thank you, Deshauna. I'm wrapping it up. And said, oh, well, maybe Mrs. Waiters meant that Leon Gold said, no. Whatever I mean, I say, okay? So I don't need none of y'all talking for me, and I'm not apologizing to none of y'all. No, I don't feel sorry. No, you could have did a better job, okay? Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you, Ms. Waiters.
Cheryl Folick? Cheryl Folick? Nope.
Ms. Fallick? She left? Is that the last
That was the
speaker?
last speaker, yes.
Before we close, Dr. Toback, do you have anything else to add?
Not at this time.
Would any board members, if they, Fran, any comment? No, you're good?
I thought we were done.
Well, we're just having our last comments if we want to say anything, and then we'll close.
I just wanted to clear
Fran?
I wasn't ready for that.
Okay.
Not right now.
Now, Jean Marie? Okay.
I
Irene?
just had a question about the leases. It's my understanding that the Elysian lease that we voted on tonight is the same rate or as the lease for the Hoboken Charter Space in our schools. So I don't know how it could be a sweetheart deal if it's the exact same rate as the Hoboken Charter School and the Elysian Charter School. And I know that some people sometimes claim that I'm a charter hater, but I would never, ever agree to Mr. Murray's proposal where we have kind of a Hunger Games where the two vie for, kind of have a bidding war for the charter schools. I think that it's actually kind of a nice thing that we can kind of get along and keep the lease affordable so that the charter schools can stay in those spaces where they are using our facilities. And then I also wanted to mention about the school choice. When people mention that kind of like strangers are coming down to the school, I wanted to remind people that a good percent, I think it was 30% we had mentioned last week, are Hoboken families that recently moved out and have been here for a number of years, and they had to move maybe a little bit, and they wanted their child to continue their educational career in the schools that they loved, where their families have grown up. So I think that's kind of a nice thing. So I just wanted to mention that.
Mr. Gluckfeld, no? Ms. Stromwell? No, you're good. Jen? And I also, none of you are arbitrary. You're all valued employees, and we're going to work very hard for you. And please know that and so will the people that I talked about. So I just want you to know that. I think, I don't know, she left. But someone brought up the administrators, saying that there were a lot. I think Dr. Toback pointed that out, that actually since 2000,
9, we've eliminated quite a lot of 18 administrators, and part of the reason why we have to have the administrators we do is because there's laws. We have to have an administrator in a building with children, and we have rules that we have to follow, just like we need, teachers in activities where we can't have a gym teacher be a parent volunteer, or a non-certificated person. For the parent that spoke earlier, which I missed this at the beginning, I just want everybody to know that the pre-K at Wallace is not being eliminated. There'll still be pre-K here next year. It's just that it's being taken over by one of our providers, and that's all part of a way to save some money in administrative costs. School choice, Irene mentioned what I wanted to say. The classrooms, yes, we do use full-size classrooms for our offices right now, but the reason for that is we are a growing enrollment, and we know we're going to need to take the classroom space back. I don't know where we're going to put them, the administration, but we wanted to leave the classrooms intact rather than build out offices to have to deconstruct and spend that expense. So
Do you want me to- 'cause there's more to that. There's more. I mean, as far as the office space,
yeah.
there's a few factors with that one. If we're going to address that, the one big issue was we have this growing ABA program, right, for our children with autism. That program has grown quite a bit. So we started with maybe 5 or 6 students a few years ago. Next year we expect to have over 30 students. So there's a part of the building that we use for that program because all the services are centralized. As a result of growing enrollment, we moved. We moved to a floor that was unoccupied. There was nobody on that floor. That floor was used, to be quite honest, the police department used it for stolen bicycles that they recovered. There was a bunch of furniture that was damaged furniture that was just to be thrown out. There was garbage, there was all sorts of things. So no one was using that space. So we decided to use it.
And with that, I believe we can
Motion to close?
I'll second.
adjourn. Sorry.
All in
Adjourned.
favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Adjourned.